Hi there! In the previous video, we learned about how a simple on-off and on-off controller with a deadband work. In this video, after a short preview on on-off controllers, I am going to talk about the basic concepts of PID controllers. In the next video, we are going to see how to generate code to implement a simple PID controller and investigate its performance. Okay, if you remember from the previous video, we generated a code to control the water level of this tank. In the manual mode, we could use these two push buttons to control the water level. By selecting the auto mode from the bottom selector, I could activate FC2 function to control the water level based on the on-off controller program that I had written already. Naturally, when I open the discharge valve to decrease the water level, the controller tries to keep the water level on the range of the preset desired value. Now let me explain manual and automatic controllers. According to the diagram, in a manual control system, the output of a process is controlled by its input, which is controlled by an operator. As an example, in the bottom image, notice that an operator can control the water level just by observing it from the glass window on the tank, or on the next image, an operator can control the temperature of a furnace by observing the temperature gauge to determine to increase or decrease the flow of a fuel amount into the furnace. Notice that although designing manual controllers are simple, but we have to deal with some problems in using them. As an example, in these types of control systems, we would need to use an operator to check the process parameters continuously to determine how to control the input parameters. Therefore, the final performance of a manual control system depends on a vigilance and preparation of its operator. So in general, a manual control system is an open-loop control system. It is less reliable, efficient, and accurate compared to automatic controllers. Therefore, we usually prefer to design and use an automatic control system. According to automatic control system diagram, the control system uses a feedback signal to compare the output with our desired value. This diagram is called closed-loop control system, and this is its diagram with more details. Closed-loop systems can automatically correct the errors occurred in output by using its feedback loop sensor. As an example, as it is illustrated on the bottom right side, the temperature of the furnace is measured by a sensor and it is fed to the controller as PV value. Or the water level of the tank is measured by a level sensor and fed to the controller. Let's assume that we wish to keep the water level of the tank at 150 centimeters. Now, let me show you how we can keep the water level inside the tank at 150 centimeters by using an automatic control level system. Let's assume that the sensor shows the current water level in the tank is 120 centimeters. Therefore, the difference between current value of the water process value and the set point is equal to 150 minus 130 equal to plus 30 centimeters. Since the amount of error is plus 30, the controller decides to open the inlet valve. Naturally, by opening the inlet valve, the water level is going to rise. It even might rise as much as 160 centimeters, which it makes the error value equal to 150 minus 160, which would be equal to minus 10. In this case, the controller might close the inlet valve or even to open the outlet valve if the control is connected to the outlet valve as well to get the water level back to 150 centimeters. This is the way that an automatic control system functions to do the controlling job. Now let's see how an on-off controller works. On-off controllers function based on the sign of error, not its amount. Anytime the amount of an error is positive, the inlet valve is open, and if the error value is negative, the inlet valve is closed. Remember that in the previous video, we implemented an on-off controller to control the water level in a tank. In that case, by using the PLC as an on-off controller, we noticed that anytime the water level reached the desired level and the error value equal to 0, because of some fluctuation on the water level, the PLC started turning the inlet valve on-off continuously, which increased the fluctuation. Turning an electrical device on-off continuously is very harmful and decreases its useful operation life. That is why usually we implement on-off controllers with a dead band. Therefore, the PLC didn't have to try to keep the water level at a certain level. If we wish to control the water level precisely without fluctuations, we need to use an analog inlet valve. By using an analog inlet valve, we can control the input water volume precisely, and instead of using an on-off controller, we can use a PID controller. A PID controller is consisted of three basic coefficients: proportional, integral, and derivative. First, for the sake of simplicity, let's learn how a proportional controller functions. According to the diagram, a proportional controller multiplies the error value by a coefficient number and applies it to the inlet valve. As an example, if the error value is equal to 10 units and the Kp is equal to 2, then the output of the proportional controller will be 20. For the water tank system, we can assume it is a voltage which should be applied to the inlet valve. Naturally, if there is a larger error between the water level and our desired level, the proportional controller will generate a bigger voltage to open the inlet valve as much as possible. In the same way, if the error value is minus 5 volts, then minus 5 times to 2 is equal to minus 10 volts is going to be applied to the inlet valve. Notice that we cannot apply all produced voltage by the proportional controller to an analog valve. As an example, if you remember from the previous video, the voltage range of the inlet valve in factory I/O is limited to 0 and 10 volt DC. So we cannot apply 20 or minus 10 volts to the inlet valve. The performance of a proportional controller can be explained based on the below diagram. Notice that as shown on the diagram, the error amount value as the controller input is multiplied to a constant number kp. In practice, we need to consider some limitations for the output of the proportional controller. As I mentioned earlier, in some cases, we are not allowed to apply negative voltages to an electrical device. In those cases, we need to remove the negative voltages like the right diagram. In the water tank system and for the inlet valve, we also need to limit the controller's output to maximum of 10 volts. Since voltages greater than 10 volt cannot be applied to the inlet valve. Now let's implement a proportional controller to control the water level of a tank in factory I/O. As I showed you at the beginning of this video, we generated this program in the previous video and also we tested it. Notice that in a proportional controller, the error value is multiplied by a constant number kp to produce the controller's output. So we can easily use math functions to compute the output of the proportional controller. Since the proportional controller is categorized as a form of PID controller, therefore I would like to go ahead and use a PID function to implement the proportional controller. First, let me to deactivate the second function, which is the on-off controller of the inlet valve. Because the result of this logic will be false forever, PLC won't execute the second function, FC2, or you can delete the whole network from the program. To implement a PID controller, we can go to a standard library, to PID control blocks, and select a suitable function. As you can see, we have 5 function blocks to implement PID controllers. To implement a continuous PID, I need to select FB41CONT-C IC-CONT function block. Let's take a look at the definition of the FB41 function block on the SIMATIC Manager software help section. The main point in using the PID function blocks is that you cannot use them in the main block OB1. We can use them only in one of OBs, OB30 to OB38, which are executed cyclically with fixed period time. As an example, let me add OB33 to my project. Okay, I added OB33 to the project. If you look for OB33 in the help section of the software, you will see that the default interval and priority class of OB33 is 500 milliseconds and 10 respectively. Inside this table, you can see the default interval and priority class of the other OBs. Now let me open OB33 and enter a PID function block inside of it. Note that in the previous videos you got familiarized with functions FC, but a PID controller program is written inside of a function block or FB. The difference between the function blocks abbreviated as FB with the functions abbreviated as FC, is that the function blocks need a data block that are abbreviated and defined as DB to store data and parameters. As you can see, after defining DB1, it is added to my project. Note that until now, I have added 3 new blocks to my project: OB33, which is executed every half a second, and FB41 or PID function block is entered inside of OB33, which it uses DB1 to store its necessary data and parameters. Note that if I decide to use FB41 function block to add a second PID controller to my project, I will need to add and define a second DB such as DB2. I talked about the basic requirements to implement a PID controller. As you can see, a PID function block has a bunch of input-outputs. Let's stop this video here, and in the next video lesson, I will continue to work on this project to develop and create a PID controller program. Thanks for watching this video.